What is going on, good people? So what you are seeing behind me is not thriving ryegrass as I had planned. Y'all know I planted the ryegrass last fall. It looked amazing. It looked amazing through spring, but then I got hit with some disease pressure. Make sure you go check out that other video to understand what's going on with that part. But y'all know it is time for me to go to the dark side. That's right. We're about to bring some iron cutter Bermuda from MVP Genetics to the Elevated Lawnscapes headquarters. You all know that I've always said a lot more here recently that putting the proper grass type in the right climate and in the right places will yield a overall easier maintenance and a more productive lawn that you'll be happy with. So it's time for me to show and tell why I have those beliefs about Bermuda grass in the transition zone, specifically here in Maryland. What we're going to show is that it's going to take less watering, less inputs, less fungicides, more disease resistance, and also more drought tolerant than managing my cool season lawn that I've got all throughout the rest of the lawn. Therefore giving me a overall easier maintenance on this area. Yeah, it's smaller, but that's not the point. The point is the amount of inputs that has to go into it to keep it nice and thriving, and we're still gonna be real mowing. So in this video, I am going to go through the entire renovation process. So it may be one of those longer videos, but you're gonna get all the details, all the information of how I'm gonna do this renovation. So make sure you stick around to the end to get all the information, and check back here on the channel for the updates as we do the grow in. So it's time to go to the dark side and bring some iron cutter Bermuda to the Elevated Lawnscapes headquarters. It's time to get going. It's time to get sweaty. Let's get to it. So now that we have our irrigation set up, it is time to get on to the hardest part, and probably the second most critical portion of this renovation after water, which is going to be the ground prep. The ground prep is where you need to spend the majority of your time, and it's probably the part that's going to take you the longest, and it's going to be the most challenging or hard working piece of this. Because later when we get to the sprigging process, you're going to see that that is not really that hard, and it's not that difficult to do. So we'll have a little bit more on that later on. So continue to stick around, because that is how you're going to get this amazing MVP genetic Bermuda grass to establish. So when it comes to ground prep, the first step that I took was making sure I got it cut down as low as possible with my mower. I even moved it beyond where the last notch was on the mower, went on and scalped it down as low as I can get it to remove as much of that dead debris from the previous existing lawn, so that I could start to get down to bare ground. So when you're trying to establish sprigs, working with bare ground is the best way to do it. It eliminates any competition from establishment, and it also loosens that top layer of soil so that you can then press the sprigs into the soil. We are dealing with a live plant, so we want to get it into the soil as much as possible so that it can start establishing its roots. And then once you have it rooted in, you now have a plant that can pull moisture from the soil, and it can also pull nutrients from the soil. So loosening up the top layer of soil is a critical thing that I do recommend you spend the time to do. So once I got it scalped down, I brought in my core aerator. This is the Stinger core aerator, which I love. And if you're dealing with a small area and you don't have a core aerator, one thing you can do is you can use the garden weasel cultivator that I've shown a number of times to be able to go in and loosen up that top layer of soil. You could also use a tiller, whether it's a pull behind rototiller or walk behind rototiller, or just in a little attachment that you put on the end of your weed eater. So you can use any of those methods to loosen up that top layer of soil. Once I completed the core aeration portion of it, I came back in with a piece of equipment that a lot of you probably already have, which is the Sunjo. So I put the Scarifier attachment onto the Sunjo and I ran over this multiple times. I mean multiple times. So this is also another method of being able to loosen up that top layer of soil so that we are getting the ground prep ready. Being that I had a pretty decent level on this already, I didn't want to disturb the soil too much. I just wanted to loosen it up. So the Sunjo with the Scarifier attachment on it did exactly what I needed. The core aeration kind of brought up some loose soil in those cores that I could then work back in to have a nice loose top layer of soil there. Once that was completed, you're going to be left with a little bit of debris, so make sure you're coming back and raking up a lot of that debris. Once it's loosened on the top, I just came in with my Groundskeeper 2 rake, raked up a lot of that debris and got it out of there, and I was left with a pretty clean and pristine surface that was all the way down to bare ground that I was able to get ready to start the sprigging process. So that is what we're on to next. We now have the ground prep. If you have any low spots or any leveling that you need to do, now is the time to do it. So in my previous renovation that I did at my pop's lawn with the iron cutter Bermuda, I didn't actually spend enough time doing the sand leveling or any kind of leveling to make sure that it was the best surface as we had. So we had to go back and do some sand leveling. That video is coming. Make sure you look out for that one. That one will be coming soon. So once I bring that to you, you'll be able to see how you can do your sand leveling. But don't skimp on this phase of the process. Make sure you are taking care of any leveling issues that you need to. If you need to bring soil in, we need to bring sand in, now is the time to do it, and it will pay off in the long run. I guarantee you it will definitely pay off in the long run.